Hello, fellow creators. And yes, I'm speaking to every single person watching the video or listening to the podcast, Reimagining Creativity in the Classroom. In this session, we'll be exploring how to find creativity in the small moments. My panel of experts has returned to chime in with their thoughts as we work through this topic. Becker comes from the world of higher ed, Meredith and Jordan are secondary educators, and Daphne brings us the view from the elementary school. As I've mentioned, one right answer just isn't enough anymore. New ideas spring from conversation, observation, and a culture that tolerates risks. If educators were able to not only identify barriers to creativity in the classroom, but also learn some simple, actionable steps that could be implemented in the classroom to encourage creativity, the potential for increased engagement, improved motivation, and student acquisition of skills needed for jobs that don't exist yet would be vastly improved. The first step is to expand the definition of what it means to be creative. In the first decade of the new millennium, researchers proposed the 4C model of creativity. They described mini-C creativity, which includes creative insights or aha moments that occur when one notices a connection or makes a revealing observation for the first time, like learning that Expo markers can remove Sharpie marks from your desks. Little c creativity refers to everyday improvements or innovations, like combining leftover ingredients in new ways to make a tasty dish for supper. Pro-C relates to those who exhibit professional expertise, like Herb Alpert or Georgia O'Keeffe. Big C creativity encompasses the sublime or genius creative mind. Think Einstein and his laws of relativity. I think the mistake that many people make is relegating creativity only to Pro-C and Big C moments. Creativity can also be found in the small moments of discovery. Everyday discoveries are creative. Adding a half a teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce to your ham salad makes a huge difference in flavor. Adding a scarf changes a boring outfit to one that makes a statement. While these are mini-C moments, they are still creative. And there are experts out there who believe that practice makes permanent when it comes to creativity. Starting with small moments can lead to bigger moments of creativity later. Don't miss the trees for the forest. Reimagine creativity from some big endeavor to finding delight in those small creative moments. Likewise, contrary to popular belief, creativity in schools doesn't have to be a big presentation at the end of a unit or a game with fabricated 3D pieces and a laminated board. Small aha moments are perfectly creative, especially when the thought process is made visible. Recognizing creative learning in the moment can be exhilarating and empowering for a student and the educator, and it doesn't take 2 weeks to do it. But it does require an inquisitive mind and a resilient mindset. Creative learning in the moment is exactly what it sounds like. When a student asks a question that represents a micro moment of learning, the educator can celebrate the insight by asking a clarifying question or two about how the student came up with that idea, and then sharing it with the class. I once had an administrator tell me to have students who asked off-topic questions to write their questions on a sticky note and save it for later. What? And squash the fact that they made, even erroneously, connections with other learning? Not a chance. We need to acknowledge their interest, answer the question if you can. It's time to celebrate. Give them a Skittle. Give yourselves a Skittle. Yes, just one. There's inspirational power in that 2 grams of sugar. The student is empowered and feels like their question, and more importantly, their thinking was important. Their self-esteem is boosted. Their idea has been validated. They will ask another question. Other students will soon realize that they can earn a Skittle too, just by paying attention and asking thoughtful questions. And you can earn Skittles for yourself by paying attention and learning to recognize these small creative moments when they happen. Encouraging a creative mindset and celebrating creative moments helps develop mindful habits. Habitually creative people enjoy taking risks. They refuse to follow the crowd. They desire to overcome obstacles. Oh, Jordan, it looks like you have a comment.
Yes, I believe that when students need to feel secure and be allowed to fail without repercussions, as long as they have operated from a plan and reflected on their mistakes, this is really important for creativity development. I think we need to have more room for fumbling around and failure.
Yeah, I agree. I call that the what-if mindset. The what-if mindset requires a person to let go of the fear of failure and take a leap of faith. In the classroom, the leap of faith makes it essential that educators not mete out consequences for wrong answers or misconceptions. Oh, Becker, did you have a comment?
The creative response has to be embraced by the teacher, and the teacher has to encourage it and be ready for the off-the-wall answers or Rube Goldberg type thinking.
Yeah, that's right. The educator needs to think in terms of, interesting, how did you arrive at that conclusion? Once the student explains their thinking, it's usually easy to spot where their thinking made a wrong turn. So even when a what-if moment leads to a what was I thinking moment, each one is a creative event. Think about trying on different pairs of shoes to see which pair best complements an outfit. A what-if moment may turn into a what was I thinking moment, which can lead to experimentation that becomes an just right moment. So how do we get there? It's my firm belief that the wall between students and teachers, knowing and not knowing, apathy and engagement, creativity and not creativity, can be breached by orchestrating moments of inspiration. Inspiration emerges from the interplay of lived experiences, emotions, and thoughts. It's a moment where something mundane becomes something extraordinary, where a stick and a bottle cap become a flying saucer and a transporter beam. So how is it possible to orchestrate such a thing? Inspiration begins with imagination, and imagination begins with noticing things. Thus, to orchestrate inspiration, we must nurture noticing. Noticing often begins with sensory input like sight, sound, or smell. Smell is strongly associated with memory. So when asked to come up with a new fall flavor, marketers for one popular beverage company capitalized on their memories of pumpkin pie, and the rest is history. The pumpkin spice latte flavor is legendary. What started out as a coffee flavor is now found in candles and donuts, air fresheners, dish soaps, and even toothpicks, to name just a few. Students and educators can be taught to notice things too. What does your body feel like after you sneeze? What's the hottest part of the day? And it's not noon. What's the most common color in nature? What do two characters in this book have in common? I don't know, think Romeo and Han Solo. Noticing these relationships helps people build a mental database of information that can be used for creative processing. If creative learning requires recombining data to create new ideas, and it does, then there needs to be lots of information in that mental database. And the information is within reach in the world we experience every day. If only we'd notice. This wall between creativity and non-creativity must be breached both in and out of school. Noticing the small stuff is a skill that can be practiced. That bird splotch on the windshield kind of looks like South America. Lake effect snow looks like Dippin' Dots ice cream. Mismatched socks are quirky, but cool. Creative thinking allows us to celebrate that part of us that is uniquely human and experience a positive mindset that increases motivation to observe new things, to embrace curiosity, to embrace chaos, and to escape the limits of expectations. Educators can teach themselves and students to recognize creativity in the small things, to find it in the world in which they live and interact, to notice it in their thoughts or in their unique responses to questions. And as educators begin to teach students to recognize the small moments of creativity in their lives, they will enhance their own ability to recognize creativity in the world. Try something. Close your eyes. That's not negotiable. Close your eyes. It's September. You are an apple on a tree in the orchard. Use your senses. What do you see? Keep those eyes closed. Run a video on the back of your eyelids. Again, what do you see? What do you smell? How do you feel? What do you hear? What would you taste like? Take a minute to really immerse yourself in your appleness. Don't open your eyes. Okay, now you can open your eyes. How could you use this creative inspiration? Could you begin a unit on photosynthesis with this information? Write a poem? Think about the history of apples? Talk about human impacts on apples? For instance, did you know that Italy once had over 200 varieties of apples that they regularly harvested? And today they're down to only 4? Whew. Cut an apple in half crosswise. Use the star to initiate a lesson on counting by 5s. The answer is true to all of the above. This practice used to be called creative dramatics, but it's really just imagination at work. And imagination leads to inspiration, leads to creativity. Yeah, say that again. Imagination begets creativity, and creativity begets imagination. These types of interaction gives rise to creative thinking. Creative thinking requires using creative habits of mind, and using creative habits of mind leads to creative problem solving. Yet problem solving is another roadblock. Open-ended problems are ambiguous. Many individuals, especially students, don't like ambiguity, probably because at some point in time they've been penalized for getting something wrong. However, ambiguity can provide opportunities for creative responses. Ambiguity, the idea that there is more than one possible answer, is profoundly difficult for the person with a one right answer mindset. Providing opportunities to answer ambiguous questions without penalty can reinforce creative behavior. Ambiguity allows imagination to roam. It allows individuals to construct their own learning. If learning and creativity go hand in hand, then ambiguity also begets creativity. Not everyone's going to answer that open-ended question in the same way. That can be a problem. When a student's ideas don't match those of their best friend or other members of the class, they tend to feel abashed and stupid, even when their ideas have merit. However, when educators acknowledge a student's right and ability to offer creative ideas and satisfy student curiosity by answering related questions, it sets the stage for equity and establishes an atmosphere and tone in the classroom that creativity is important. New ideas are to be respected, and mistakes or misconceptions are opportunities for new thinking, not ridicule. Oh, Daphne, I see you have something you'd like to share.
Yes, exactly. Creative thinking, where you're allowed to be wrong, is important. They're not comfortable with it, but I think allowing them to make mistakes without a consequence, that's the most I can do, or without judging.
Yeah. In the end, though, students really don't know what they don't know. Assuming that students know how to productively struggle, notice things, or make sense of seemingly disparate ideas is unrealistic. In order for students to feel comfortable with being unique and original in their thinking, you may need to show them how. The old standard I do, we do, you do still makes practical sense. Jordan, you're an 8th grade educator, and I know you believe you have a real responsibility to help students learn how to be creative.
I do. I think part of teaching creativity is also showing creativity, modeling creativity, and different ways of looking for stuff. Teaching things, I think maybe the kids don't necessarily notice it every day, but hopefully we're planting the seed. I think how a class is organized on a day-to-day basis, how a lesson's organized, how a unit's organized, can be really creative to get kids thinking. And I think without kids to think, they won't show as much creativity.
Yeah, I really agree. So add the icon to your presentation, tell the joke, play the photosynthesis song, make up riddles about the periodic table, tell them the mnemonic device for remembering something. Sometimes seeds do bloom where they are planted, so let's grow a garden. That's all for this session. In closing, I'd like to issue another creative challenge to viewers and listeners to encourage creative practice. These challenges are for your own personal experience. If you'd like to share what you create, please send evidence via the QR code provided, and your work will be posted alongside the work of other viewers and listeners on my WordPress site, Cultivating Creative Thought. Here's your challenge. Extraordinary photos of everyday things is a method I use to help students visualize human impact on the environment. In 5 minutes, students are asked to use any materials they can find in their current environments to create a scene and take a photo that represents one way that humans affect the environment. Now, it's your turn. Go take that photo. Set the timer for 5 minutes. Go. Till next time.